most people want to see results. So people who know me, know of me, went to school with me, or whatever the case may be, people want to see results, you know. So of course, when they see me now that I'm clean and sober for 17 years, people will acquire, especially when they sick and tired of being sick and tired. Now a lot of people ain't gonna say nothing because it's an embarrassing thing the most, especially if you have lost control. But people really just seeking to get help, and which I think that's everybody. Some people just ashamed. They've got to the point in their addiction where as though they don't want nobody know, or at least they don't think nobody know. But it's evident: weight loss, skin dark. You might be missing some teeth for various reasons, eating a lot of candy, just or whatever the case may be. But you get what I'm saying, because all that just come with drug addiction, loss of job, loss of car, loss of kids, loss of family, a place to live. But all in all, people want to see results. So the people that know me will ask me, and I tell them, and it just starts by, denial and addressing that you have a problem, and, because you can clearly see a person that they weighed up, they working. They got a car, multiple cars. You know what I'm saying? They at the kids' event. They taking care of business, basically. So how I started off, I say you shouldn't be embarrassed of seeking help and reaching out to anybody to turn your life around when you have no problem going to somebody's store, committing larceny, stealing from your family, not taking care of your hygiene, etc. And it's the way you say it. The old saying, it ain't what you say, it's how you say it. Because I've been in all these situations. So, and most people will stop thinking about it like, hey, you're right. I'm in these people's store, taking their stuff. I have no problem going on the street selling it. Some people prostituting, male and female, whatever, fraud, whatever the case to me, what they doing what they got to do to get what they want, So that's how the introduction of me getting them clean starts, and then they begin to really start taking accountability, and they can start the natural process of, getting themselves clean, So it just goes on from there. You know what I mean? So, and then for people who I don't know, and I'm just in general conversation, meet new people, work, the gym, or wherever. It could be an airport, it could be in the grocery line, people who are in addiction, some way they feel more comfortable talking to strangers than they do family, I guess because they feel though the stranger not going to judge them, and maybe the family members or kids or whoever have said something that they ain't like, which was the truth, and of course that falls under denial, because the last thing an addict really want to hear, you need to stop getting high, you used to be this, you used to be that, so that will make a person withdraw. They know it's the truth, but that just come, from the neurological point of, that I don't really want to admit I'm an addict. I know I'm an addict, but who is he or who is she to call me an addict? So that's where it start, that anger, that back and forth, resentment, and the whole nine, until you finally come to grips, that it was me. So that's my way of going about it. But they'll say, or people that say stuff like, yeah, boy, I'm trying to give up this liquor, or I'm trying to give up this beer, or boy, I need to stop smoking this weed, you know what I'm saying? And usually when they saying that, and you ain't asking, and then what I do is, I know where you're coming from. You know what I'm saying? Then what you mean? You know where I'm coming from? I'm like, yeah, man, I used to open and close the liquor store. I used to roll blunts and weed and heroin and cocaine, I never messed with Molly and all that. I don't even really know what that is, but, all drugs are the same. So a lot of people want to get information on somebody who been there, because you have a lot of addicts that check in rehab, and in their mind, they feel as though the counselor, only got the book knowledge. So what can you tell me? You ain't never been in these mean streets of so-and-so, whatever city they come from. You ain't never shot no dope. You ain't never drank no liquor. You ain't never smoked no blunt. You ain't never smoked no PCP, take no pain pills. They feel as though the counselor know what they talk about from the big book perspective. But when they get it from somebody like me, who once they find out, oh, I've been in the streets, I've been locked up, I've laid on dirty jail cell floors, you know what I'm saying? I've laid in rehabs and ain't eat for 10, 20 days, because my body needs to, the metamorphosis of my body needs to get back right. You know what I'm saying? Then they see, which they don't know, but he dressed nice, he looked nice, he's shining, or she's shining. It don't gotta come from me. Then they begin to listen, and then they be like, man, you got that many years clean, and you start getting clean when? And that's when people really start to buy in. But sometimes people will really never get clean or receive the information from somebody because it's like you come at them negative, especially the ones and close family, because you don't want to see them in that way. But the way I come at them, I don't come at nobody at all, but I still got friends and family members to this day, and I never even bring up the topic. And then when they find out I got 17 years clean, they want a piece of that. Addicts want a piece of sobriety. I don't care if it's a celebrity, I don't care if it's a neighbor, I don't care who it is. When they find out you got long-time sobriety and they still out here in that mix, they want a piece of that. That's just like in anything. If you trying to start a business and you happen to bump into Tyler Perry or anybody who got a business, you trying to own something or beginning to learn entrepreneurship, and you talk to somebody who has been doing it for a minute, most likely you're going to listen. You know what I'm saying? So I give advice to whoever looking for it. And, in my next video, I will share more insight on like coping mechanisms. I've shared one about triggers, anger management, all this, which plays a major role in your recovery, all this that plays a major role in you trying to get recovery. Just follow me on my next video, subscribe to the channel, and I got plenty of insight how I've helped people, who've got clean. I've got people now who I ran into back home. I'm from Maryland. I'm not even in Maryland right now. I was in the Amish market, and somebody, well, you don't know what you did for me. You know what I'm saying? So my input, I've gotten multiple people clean, and I ain't talking about 3 or 4. Now, they did the work themselves, do not get me wrong, but sometimes it's just that, like they said, if you could just save one, you know what I'm saying? You done your job. But I feel as though I could save a lot of people, It's just a way about going about it. Follow me in my next video, and I'll share more insight on what it takes to get people clean. Peace.